Warning, this video contains spoilers, so if you haven't seen Scream 5 yet, then make sure to go watch the movie first and then come back to this video. In today's video, I'll be going over the newest installment in the Scream franchise, Scream 5. And I'll be giving you a full breakdown of the movie so that it's easier to understand, and also to point out key moments you might have missed along the way, and also explaining the killer's motives within Scream 5. The movie consists of 13 key characters, first being Tara Carpenter, who is the half-maternal sister of Sam Carpenter, who is also a main character in the movie. Next up we have Wes Hicks, who is the son of Deputy Judy Hicks, who is a legacy character in Scream 5. Wes was also named after Wes Craven in the movie in honor of Wes Craven, and I'll show moments where this is shown to be the case. Next we have Chad Meeks Martin, who is the brother of Mindy Meeks Martin, and who are both the niece and nephew of Randy Meeks, who was killed in Scream 2. Up next we have Liv McKenzie, who is dating Chad Meeks. And then next up we have Vince Schneider, who doesn't have much screen time but is important to the movie due to who he's related to, but I'll get into that later in the video. Then we have the rest of the legacy characters: Cindy Prescott, Gil Weathers, Dwight Riley, also known as Dewey. And finally we have Amber Freeman and Richie Kirsch, who, if you haven't seen Scream 5 already, but if you're watching this video then that would hopefully mean that you have, has a very close relation to Ghostface. So the movie begins with a classic scene from Scream where Tara, one of the main characters, is home alone. The killers, which we later find out to be Richie and Amber, are together when they are calling Tara. Therefore, Amber is never in real danger, as the killer makes it seem. The reason the killers Richie and Amber go after Tara but don't kill her is to hopefully get Sam, Tara's sister, to go back to Woodsboro to be there for her sister. They need Sam to go back to Woodsboro to get her back to the original house that used to belong to Stumacher from the original Scream movie, and where the killers were finally revealed. And Sam's important due to the fact that one of the killers from the original is Sam's father, Billy Loomis. At 15 minutes into the movie, while the gang is sitting and talking, we can see Vince looking from a distance at Liv. We later find out in the movie that Liv and Vince had a summer fling, and I'll explain why Vince is important in just a little bit. Shortly thereafter, as Sam and Richie are driving back to Woodsboro to be with Sam's sisters Tara, Richie asks Sam, "Do you know why someone wearing that mask would want to kill your sister?" But he already knows the answer to that question, given that he's one of the killers and is the one using Tara as bait to get Sam to go back to Woodsboro. Also, Sam asks Richie if he's ever seen any of the Stab movies, and Richie says no, but Sam calls him out by stating, "Not even the Stab movie that you bought last year," and Richie ignores the question by giving a response that doesn't answer the question Sam asked. Some information on Sam and Tara, as I mentioned previously, that is important, is that they are maternal half-sisters. If you are wondering why Tara and Sam's mother never makes an appearance in the entire movie, it's because at 17 minutes into the movie, Tara, while in the hospital, tells Sam that their mother is stuck at a conference in London. Another key moment in the movie is at 19 minutes. Amber asks Tara if she has her second inhaler. Amber asks this question so that she or Richie can take Tara's inhaler and later give a reason to have Tara, and more than likely Sam, go back to the original house from the first Scream movie that we later find out that Amber's parents purchased. We later find out that Richie does indeed take Tara's second inhaler while at the hospital, because at 1 hour and 13 minutes into the movie, when Sam, Tara, and Richie are leaving Woodsboro, Tara isn't able to find her inhaler and then suggests to go to Amber's house where she has an extra inhaler there. And then Richie reveals that he has Tara's other inhaler while at the house, and after revealing himself as the second killer. At 20 minutes into the movie, while the gang is playing pool, Amber says that we have to protect Tara from Sam, and then Wes says, "So guys aren't good for her, and now not even her family is?" This begins to show the obsession that Amber has with Tara, and then Mindy says to Wes that the motive for him being the killer and to try to kill Tara is that if he can't have her, no one can, and that everyone knows that Wes has a crush on Tara. But this would be in fact the case for Amber, who is obsessed with Tara solely to preserve the goal that her and Richie have, and Tara plays a major part in getting everything to go according to plan. Moments later, Amber then kills Vince, who was looking at Liv earlier and who showed up at the bar looking for Liv while outside of the bar, because he is in fact the nephew of Stumacher, who was the second killer from the first movie. And Vince being related to Stu is revealed by Amber at around 40 minutes into the movie, when everyone meets up at Chad and Mindy's house. During the hospital scene, while Sam is in the break room, we find out that Sam takes antipsychotic medication, due to her seeing her dead dad Billy Loomis at times, as she has a conversation with the vision of Billy right before she's attacked by Ghostface. At 23 minutes into the movie, Sam receives a call from Ghostface and then admits to Sam that the reason they went after her sister was to lure Sam back to Woodsboro. At 25 minutes into the movie, when Sam is back in the room with Richie, Amber, Tara, and Deputy Judy, we find out that the number the killer called from was Amber's number. Richie and Amber then go back and forth accusing each other of being the killer. This could have been a mistake from Amber, who probably forgot to block her number before calling Sam. And later on in the movie, we see the killer block their number when calling Deputy Judy's phone while she's getting food. At 26 minutes into the movie, Sam is explaining to Tara how they don't have the same dad. And apparently in Scream 1, Billy Loomis was cheating on Sidney Prescott and Sam's mother was cheating on Tara's dad and got pregnant with Billy Loomis's baby, Sam, and told Tara's dad that Sam was his baby, and when Sam was 13, she found out the truth about her real father being Billy Loomis. At 33 minutes into the movie, when Sam and Richie go see Dewey, Dewey is able to figure out that Richie is the killer immediately. Dewey says rule number 2 is that the killer's motive is always connected to something from the past, and then Sam confirms this motive being that her dad is Billy Loomis. Then Dewey says that rule number 3 is the most important rule. The first victim always has a friend group that the killer is a part of, and that would be Amber. At 40 minutes into the movie, when Tara's friends, Sam, Richie, and Dewey meet up to try to figure out who's the killer, we find out the reason why Vince, who was stalking Liv, was killed by Amber, saying that the guy stalking Liv was the nephew of Stu Macher, who was the second killer from the first movie. Also at this time, Mindy starts to come to the conclusion as to why the killers are doing what they're doing, and that the killers are making a requel or a sequel to the original Stab movie. She says that the fans of the Stab franchise are pissed about the last Stab movie, Stab 8, and how it pissed all over their childhood. So the killer is remaking his version of Stab 8, but as a requel to the original Stab movie, as to reboot the franchise in a sense, but keeping the original movie still as the first movie in this new timeline. At this moment, they also try to figure out who the killer will go after next, and it would be someone who is tied to the original movie, and that would be Wes's mom, Deputy Judy, followed by Wes getting killed, who is named in the movie after Wes Craven, but also being the son of Judy, who is a character from the older Scream movies. At 56 minutes into the movie, Sam calls Richie, and Richie is in the middle of watching a video on Stab 8, and is beginning to show an obsession with the franchise, given that Sam pointed out earlier when they were driving to Woodsboro that Richie bought a copy of Stab the previous year. Richie was also watching Stab on Netflix while waiting in Tara's hospital room, and now he's watching a video on Stab 8 and complains about the movie and how the series goes off the rails starting with Stab 5. The killers are then able to lure Sidney back to Woodsboro by killing Dewey to continue their path to creating a great requel. At 1 hour and 14 minutes into the movie, a party is being thrown which is supposed to be a memorial that's being held at Amber's house, which was Stu Macher's house from the original Scream movie, where the killers Billy Loomis and Stu were revealed. And at the beginning of this scene, they are having a party to honor their friend Wes, who was killed, but I also believe this is also to honor Wes Craven, given that they gave Wes his name in the movie after Wes Craven, and also they have a sign hanging in the house that says "For Wes," and also show "For Wes" in the closing credits of the movie. At 1 hour and 15 minutes into the movie, Mindy mentions that they are low on beer, and Amber offers to go get more beer by going to the basement by herself, and Mindy finds this strange. This scene is also to recreate the scene from the original Scream movie where Tatum goes to get beer by herself and ends up getting killed, but this time it's to show what not to do, but also nothing happens this time given that the killer is the one getting the beer and the other killer, Richie, isn't at the house yet. The next two people to get attacked and or killed is Chad and Mindy, given that at this point in the movie is where their uncle Randy gets attacked in the original Scream movie. And the scene where Mindy's uncle Randy is attacked is recreated with Mindy this time as an homage to the original Scream movie. At 1 hour and 27 minutes into the movie, Amber finally reveals herself as one of the killers. Moments later, Richie tells Sam that there are always two killers and suggests that Tara is probably the other killer to try and confuse Sam. At 1 hour and 30 minutes into the movie, Sam finds Tara in a closet tied up, but given what Richie said makes Sam question for a moment if Tara might be the other killer. Around this time is when Cindy finally returns to the house where it all started 25 years ago. At 1 hour and 32 minutes into the movie, Richie finally reveals himself as the second killer by stabbing Sam. Richie then reveals he was the one who took Tara's inhaler from the hospital to cause them to have to go back to Amber's house for the final scene of the movie. And Richie says that even though this isn't a movie, that it will become one, and that is their purpose for doing all these things that they have done, so that the requel will be made based off of the things they have done. Richie then goes on to say that someone has to save the franchise, referring to the stab movies, and then goes on to explain that no one has really made a great stab movie since the first one. Richie then goes on to show his fanatic obsession for the stab movies as he talks to Sydney. Sam then tells Richie that he did all of this to make Sam the hero of the movie, but Richie reveals that the plan is to frame and make Sam the villain, and that she did all of this because she's the daughter of Billy Loomis. And since Sydney killed her dad, Billy Loomis, in the original movie, Sam did all of this to get Sydney back to Woodsboro to kill and avenge her father. And that the illegitimate daughter of the original mastermind is a great villain. Amber then reveals that she met Richie online on Reddit, and that she became obsessed with the story ever since her parents bought Stumacher's house and found out that Richie and her had similar ideas. Richie's plan was then to find Sam and start a relationship with her to begin the process to get her back to Woodsboro. Then Amber and Richie explained that they had to bring back the legacy characters from the original to make the movie matter and for the movie not to feel like a cash grab. At 1 hour and 37 minutes into the movie, we finally find out whether Sam decided to cut the tape off of her sister Tara and to trust that Tara wasn't the other killer, and that Sam did indeed release Tara, and now Tara helps Sam and Sydney by attacking Amber. At 1 hour and 41 minutes into the movie, Sam then fights with Richie and sees a vision of her dad Billy, and after fighting for so long to not be like her dad, finally embraces the mind of a killer and viciously stabs Richie over and over again, and finally slices his throat and shoots him multiple times, and then Tara shoots Amber, who came back one final time. We then find out that Mindy survived the attacks, and also Gail mentions at the end of the movie that she's not going to write about Richie and Amber, but she's going to write about the life of Dewey to honor him. And then the movie ends with the text saying "For Wes," given that the movie was dedicated to Wes Craven. So that's the end of this in-depth breakdown of Scream 5. I also have an ending explained video for Scream 5, which you can see on the screen now, or a video that YouTube thinks you would like to watch from my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing if you are new to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.